Just about to start for whoever just joined. My name is Federica, I'm part of the Doxity team, and it's my pleasure to welcoming you all to this live webinar of SOAS University. And it's now my pleasure to leave the floor to Elizabeth, International Recruitment Manager, who together with Laura will be talking about SOAS University. And I just remind you all that you can write your questions into the Q&A section that you find in your Zoom window, and we will be answering at the end of the presentation. Elizabeth, I leave you the floor.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and welcome to you all. We're really happy to be able to share a little bit about SOAS and let you know what we have to offer. I've actually studied at SOAS. I was a student there, and I did my undergraduate, my postgraduate, and I've worked in admissions, and now I'm working in recruitment. So I have a little bit of different perspectives of the institution. So hopefully I'll be able to share a little bit of my experience today. So here is a slide showing something of our history. SOAS is actually quite an old institution. We were founded back in 1916 as one of the colleges of the University of London. And we weren't actually established as the School of Oriental and African Studies until 1938. And it was in 1941 that we moved to our current campus site. And you can see there the black and white photo of the college buildings, which look very similar today. And perhaps our most famous asset is the SOAS Library. And that was opened in 1973 and designed by the architect Sir Dennis Lasdon. And you'll notice there that we just recently celebrated our centenary just back in 2016. So that was like our 100-year anniversary. So we've been around a little while. Okay, let's have a look at some of the reasons. Why study at SOAS? What's special about SOAS? I've just put a few points here. I think basically we're a truly central London location. A lot of universities say, hey, we're in London, but SOAS are actually located in the very heart of central London in Bloomsbury. We also teach degrees from a global focus. We've got a non-Eurocentric perspective. So we look at the world in a slightly different perspective. We have world-class facilities, and we have leading academics who are practitioners in their field. So our academics are not only teaching you, but they're involved globally in projects, in research, and their aim is to make positive change in the world. We also have a friendly community atmosphere. We're a fairly small university, so that allows you to get to know people. Class sizes are smaller, so it's a little bit of a different experience from being in a very huge institution. And we also rank in the global top 50 for our arts and humanities courses. And our student population is incredibly diverse. We have a very high percentage of international students. Okay, here is SOAS in numbers. This will just give you a little overview to see where we stand. So as you can see there, we have about 6,000 students actually on campus. And of those students, 54% are international. And they come from about 135 different countries. So this makes SOAS a very interesting place to study. It's a real melting pot of ideas and cultures and perspectives. You can also see here that we have a kind of almost 50-50 balance of postgraduate and undergraduate. So that creates quite a good mix with the students as well. And on top of our campus students, we offer distance learning programs for postgraduate students. So we have about 4,000 students around the world who join us in distance learning. So they're still part of our community, even though they're not physically with us on campus. And sometimes they do visit during the summer for summer school. So those are also part of the SOAS community. And last but not least, we have an amazing staff-student ratio of 11:1, which means you get a lot of time with academics. So classes are very small, and we have a high number of academics in proportion to the students. Just a quick look at rankings. As I mentioned, we're in the top 50 for arts and humanities globally. And you can see there are some of our top subjects with development and anthropology and law and politics. And we also come in the top 10 with 7 subjects in the UK, including linguistics, which is there on the diagram. Okay, let's have a quick look at our location in central London. Here's a map of central London, and you should be able to see SOAS there in the little yellow box. And as you can see, we're located right in the heart of Bloomsbury. We're just around the corner from the British Museum, literally a couple of minutes walk. And again, we're within about 10-15 minutes walking to Oxford Street, Tottenham Court Road, Covent Garden. If you're interested in shopping and eating, all of that is on the doorstep. In terms of travel, we have about 5 different tube stations, all within a short walk of SOAS, including Russell Square, where you can catch the Piccadilly line directly to Heathrow Airport. King's Cross, Euston mainline stations are just to the north of SOAS there, again about a 15-minute walk. And you can catch mainline trains to the other UK nations. You can head to Scotland straight from King's Cross. And also you'll see there the St Pancras International, just next to King's Cross, so you can catch the Eurostar to Europe. So we have very good connections in terms of transport. And there's also a very local shopping centre just next to SOAS at Russell Square, the Brunswick Centre, where there's cafes and shops. There's even an art house cinema. Those are all within about 5 minutes walk of the university. So there's plenty going on directly around the institution. And if you look a little bit further south there on the map near the river, you'll see some of the big London icons, famous tourist destinations. Again, St. Paul's, Westminster Abbey, the Tate, all of those places are within very easy access of SOAS. Okay, what do we actually teach? What are we all about? Let's have a look. So I mentioned briefly at the beginning, we're a very specialist institution, and we have a focus on arts and humanities, social sciences, and languages. So this gives you a brief overview of all our departments, our subject areas. And you can see that we offer single and combined degrees, 3- and 4-year programs. So if you're interested in the specific disciplines, law and politics, economics, these type of subjects, you can take those as a single subject 3-year degree program. You can also combine them. So if you want to do politics together with economics, that's a possibility as well. So your degree becomes politics and economics. And again, for people who are interested in taking languages a little bit further than beginners, you can actually enroll on a dual degree. So for example, politics and Japanese, which will allow you to spend 1 year overseas in Japan. So whichever subject you want to combine, you can take that together with the language, and you'll have the opportunity to study abroad. And those programs are 4 years instead of 3 years, because you'll be taking the language to quite an advanced level, so you'll become fully fluent. Okay, we have the same thing here for master students. So for those of you who are interested in taking up a master's degree at SOAS, you can have an idea here of the different subjects that we're offering. And again, we have the distance learning option in 4 subject areas. So those are a little more specific. We offer development studies, and we offer media, international relations, and politics. So those are a little bit more specialized, whereas for the on-campus teaching, you have the full range of subjects listed here. And I think again, you can see here, there's 1 or 2 year options. Most of our master's programs are a 1-year option, but if you're interested in languages, you can combine with the intensive language program. So whatever degree you're interested in, if it's history, but you want to do that together with Chinese, your degree becomes a 2-year program, and you get to spend a summer overseas in China doing specifically language. So there is the option there for those of you who are interested in language to do a 2-year program and make that part of your degree. I think the main difference here between the undergraduate and the postgraduate, of course, is your dissertation, your research project. So you'll have 2 full modules, 60 credits of research. So you'll be writing quite a long dissertation over the summer at the end of your study period. And this just gives you a little glimpse of the different languages that we teach. So for those of you who are interested in a specific region, this will let you see the types of languages you can choose. And I think it's important too, even if you're thinking about a discipline, studying, maybe you want to do politics or history, you can also think about the fact that your discipline can be focused on a specific region. So if you're more interested in the Middle East, you can choose to take modules within politics, which are focused on the Middle East, rather than looking at, say, Japan. The other option is to look a little bit more broadly. So you can look comparatively across the different regions and choose modules comparatively, depending on the areas that you're interested in. So our degrees are incredibly flexible, and you'll find about over 70% of students are actually on a unique pathway, which means even though they may be taking just economics, they're taking very different modules from the other students who are taking economics. So you can hone in and choose the different languages, the different cultural areas, the different regional aspects that interest you most. So there's a lot of flexibility within the degrees. Okay, let's have a little campus tour. Normally we have open days at SOAS and you can come and visit, and we like to take you around the campus and you can see the buildings and you can experience the atmosphere. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we've not been able to do that recently. Hopefully things will open up in the not too distant future. But for now, let me try to virtually let you experience a little bit about SOAS. So here is the SOAS precinct. It's a very leafy, pretty, pedestrianized area where our campus builds around here. So if you look to the right-hand side, that's the main college buildings. That's the same building that we had in the black and white photograph from the beginning of the presentation. And on the left-hand side, is the Brunei Gallery, which is a more recent building. And to the left in the distance, which you can't see in this slide, we have the Paul Webley Wing, which is part of the Senate House building. So that forms a cluster of the three main college buildings, which form the SOAS campus. So everything is together here, right in central London. Okay, this is Torrington Square. So the building directly in front there is the Paul Webley Wing, which is part of the Senate House building. Senate House itself is the University of London Administrative Centre, so it's shared by quite a few of the university colleges, and it houses the famous Senate House Library, which is up in the top of the tower. SOAS has access, we inhabit the first 4 floors down there, which you can see directly in front of you. And on the left there are the college buildings, and just to the left of that, out of view, is the library. On the right-hand side there is Birkbeck College, which is another University of London college, and the glass building is their library. So you have access as a SOAS student to all the other colleges' libraries, as well as the Senate House Library in the large tower there. And a little bit of information on a Thursday, we have an amazing farmers market right in the middle of the square. And there's incredible cakes and bread and international cuisine. And this is kind of an exciting day for staff and students to come to the market. Okay, here's a view from inside the Senate House Paul Webley Wing atrium. And we acquired the Paul Webley Wing in 2016. So it's a very old building, but it's fairly new for SOAS to be inhabiting. So this forms like a very lovely large space where you can socialize, you can study, and there's a lot going on in here. Downstairs, we've got the student hub, which is kind of for administrative questions, anything relating to your studies. There's a career service. There's also a well-being service here. So if you have any issues with learning difficulties, you have any problems with your visa, anything personal that's going on, there's opportunity there to go to the well-being center. The Senate House building, our Paul Webley Wing, also hosts lecture theatres, seminar rooms, informal study space. So it's quite a very large space. There's cafes, there's areas for socializing. So this is a really nice space. And we'll just have a look over here. Here's the college buildings again. You'll remember this is the original SOAS building, and it forms the heart of our campus. And in the center of the college buildings, we have the SOAS Library, which is one of 5 national research libraries in England. So the other research libraries are hosted in Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, and the LSE in London. So this is a world-renowned library. We have over 1.3 million resources, including archives, manuscripts, rare books, and special collections. It's the largest library in Europe relating to the regions of Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And it's one of the most important libraries in the world for these regions. In college buildings, we also have lecture space, seminars, music rooms, academic offices, and the Students' Union, Students' Common Room, bar, all of these type of places are all within the college buildings. Okay, here's a view of the library. I think the library, you really have to be there in person to experience the for amazing perspective. We normally go up to one of the top floors and you can look down and you can see how vast the library is. You've got an idea here of the study space. We have about 1,000 study spaces in the library as well. And hidden away behind the stacks and in little rooms, there are special reading rooms and desks all tucked away. So you can find your own personal space in the library where you like to sit. So this is, as I said before, one of the biggest libraries in Europe for the regional study. And down in the basement, we have all the rare books and manuscripts, and they're all down there in a secure place, and you can request to view all of those items. And just a little view from between the library stacks. And as I mentioned, once you're a SOAS student, you'll have access to a whole lot of electronic books, journals, Senate House Library, all the other University of London college libraries, LSE, King's, UCL, Birkbeck. So you'll probably find you've got more than enough in the SOAS library, but it's nice to have the option to visit the other libraries. And if there's anything specific that's in there, you'll be able to have access. And the Brunei Gallery building. This is actually the roof of the Brunei. And we have a Japanese garden up on the roof, which is an amazing place to visit, especially during the summer. It's usually very quiet up here. Some people like to come up and have lunch or study or read. And it's kind of secluded, a little bit of an oasis in the middle of London there, quiet spot. And the Brunei Gallery also has lecture theatres, teaching rooms. So we have the art department, academics are hosted in the Brunei Gallery. And downstairs, we have an actual exhibition space where we have changing exhibitions relating to Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. These are open to the public and they're free to visit, and there's always something interesting going on. And here's a view of the actual exhibition space. This was a former exhibition. Currently, because of COVID, you'll be able to actually view the exhibitions virtually. So if you go onto the website, you'll be able to see what's going on, and you can sign up for virtual tours of the exhibitions. So that's quite fun. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague Laura now, who's going to continue and start by introducing you to the Students' Union.
Thanks, Lisa. And of course, we know that, it's not just academics that make up your time at university, but a huge part of it is the opportunities and the experiences that are available to you outside the classroom. So let's take a little look then. SOAS is renowned for having a very active and lively student community, and that's probably one of the first things you'll notice if you are able to come and visit us. Our union has over 200 societies that you can get involved in, and those range from the typical things you might expect, subject-based societies, more sort of traditional hobby-based ones, sports, different things like that. And it also extends to the weird and wonderful things like nap society, if you're passionate about sleeping, the Real Ale Society, and many, many more. And if you can't find a society that you think gives you an opportunity to explore your interests, then oftentimes you can get support to set one up and meet similarly minded people through the Students' Union. You'll also find lots of common rooms, the shop and bars for students. You'll have lots of places to socialise and get to know the rest of the student community. And there's always lots of events going on. Like I said, the students are known for being very lively and active, both socially and politically. So you'll have lots to get involved in. things like live music events, film screening, cultural events. And while campus has been a bit quieter this year due to COVID restrictions, we're very positive that as we head into the new academic year and restrictions change and ease, that there'll be lots more of these social events returning in some capacity, and lots of different ways for you to get connected and really have the full student experience. As Lisa mentioned, because we are part of the wider University of London, then you do have access to all of the different facilities associated with those member institutions. So yes, the academic facilities, things like the library, if you want to expand the different research and academic resources available to you, but also in terms of the sort of overarching Students' Union, which is Student Central. And one of the main things that that comes along with is access to really great sports facilities if you want to get involved, join a gym, or take different classes during your time as a student. And on the next slide then, you'll just be able to see some more examples of the different societies that we have available for you to join. Again, like I said, hop along to the Union website. You'll be able to find an extensive list of all the different ways and all the different groups that you could potentially get involved with during your time as a student. And again, lots of these societies give you the opportunity to expand the experiences and the achievements on your CV. And there's lots of different ways to get involved and to gain experience and make those connections by really sort of establishing yourself within the SOAS student community. And here then you can see just a picture of members of the Somali Society at one of our different societies fairs, engaging with different students. We host lots of different fairs, typically in that atrium of the Paul Webley wing that you, Lisa showed you a few slides ago. So there's lots of different ways to keep you involved and keep you connected. Okay then, a little bit about academic life and what you can expect from that if you do come to join us at SOAS. Lisa spoke a little bit about the SOAS learning experience in terms of the small scale teaching that you can expect, and that SOAS, generally speaking, ranks very highly for across the UK. So like it says in the bottom left then, lecture sizes do vary, and typically that depends on the size of your programme and the amount of students studying alongside you. But typically there will never be more than 15 students in a tutorial group. So just to explain then, in the UK higher education systems, you'll probably have two types of teaching, those that take place sort of at a larger scale, being lectures, or depending on the subject, sometimes seminars can be quite large scale teaching opportunities. And then you'll have smaller scale teaching, things like seminars and tutorials that allow you to really dig into the main ideas and arguments and criticisms being discussed as part of the work or the topic or theme that you're studying alongside your peers and with your professors. Generally speaking then, as part of your studies, you'll be asked to complete 120 credits per year of your degree. And then if you are joining us for postgraduate study, that'll be an additional 60 credits that covers your summer dissertation project. There are 3 terms in each academic year at SOAS. Again, we're a little bit different in terms of the structure of our academic year, in that term 1 and term 2 are largely teaching terms. And then in term 3, that's largely where we focused on examination and assessment. And term 3 usually takes place in May and June before the end of the academic year. Generally speaking, you'll have about 10 to 12 hours contact time, so lessons per week. Although if you are studying a language, this is likely to be higher. Again, your exact contact time will depend on the particular subject that you study, the modules that you choose within your degree programme. And so again, there's a little bit of variation, but you will have contact time, and you will, in the context of SOAS's small student to teacher ratio, have the opportunity to get to know your professors and your peers very well. In terms of assessment then, that very much varies depending on the module. It's by no means just by examination. We offer lots of different types and we utilise lots of different types of assessment that really give you the opportunity to show us your academic development and knowledge. So typically speaking, within your modules, it'll be a mix of exams and coursework that are used to assess you and reach a grade. You might have to give things like group presentations, have different assignments that mimic, for example, what you might be asked to do in a real world professional context. Each academic year begins in September and runs through to June, like I said. And just a quick note while we're here on what we're anticipating and expecting. In terms of COVID, we are anticipating that it will be a blended approach that we take next year. Again, we'll continue to review it as we progress, as the vaccine programme progresses and as government guidance changes. But it's likely as we head into the new academic year that most of our larger scale teaching will be online and that most of our smaller scale teaching opportunities will take place in person, with an opportunity for students who can't make it to campus in term one to do some sort of other online alternative form of engagement to make sure that everybody can begin their studies with us in September. In terms of career support then, again, we know that students are really focused on what will be the benefit of their studies in terms of accessing high-level graduate employability. And there's lots of different ways that the Careers Service can offer you support and assistance in that. They offer specific, country-specific careers information and advice. They can offer you appointments where you'll focus on CV and cover letter writing skills. They can help you to even just sort of narrow and pin down where you're headed, where's your career direction. And when it gets to that stage of applying for graduate roles, they can also help you with interview preparations and sort of mock interview practice. As a student at SOAS, you'll have access to full listings of jobs, different paid internships and volunteering opportunities available via our online portal, which is called Careers Zone. And our career service also organises lots of different careers fairs and workshops, which will help you to connect with different organisations and businesses within your chosen industry, and also to network with our alumni community. SOAS has an alumni community of tens of thousands of former students. Some of them are very familiar faces that you might recognise from the television or from specific sectors. And we're very keen to make sure that we can connect our current students to alumni through those networks. And just as an example, then you'll see at the bottom of the screen the suggestion of a student ambassador job. Some of our students do choose to come and join us and work as student ambassadors to represent SOAS at open days or sometimes on webinar platforms like this, and to share their experiences as a student. And that can be a really good way to earn some extra income, but in a way that you can easily tailor around the academic demands of your degree study at SOAS. And again, you can just see on this slide, it just gives you a very small snapshot of some of the sort of destinations that our graduates go on to study. Renowned companies, really well-known companies, things like Reuters, the World Bank, Deloitte, there's a huge range. And of course, lots of our graduates also go on to work with small-scale NGOs and to really make a difference in practical terms on the ground. But there's a whole host of information available on our website if you go to those specific degree programs and navigate to the career destination information that we have available. Alrighty, just a little bit then about what you can expect in terms of London life. Of course, it's not just SOAS, but London as a student city offers students so much more and many other opportunities. Again, just a lovely view of the capital that might become very familiar and a home away from home for you if you do choose to join us at SOAS. Like I said, in terms of London life, the city has so much to offer our students. It's incredibly diverse, people from everywhere, all different countries, more than 300 languages spoken. And in terms of that student community, there's over 350,000 students in London alone. So you will absolutely not be alone or isolated, and you definitely won't struggle to make friends and connections as a new arrival. London was ranked the best student city in the world in 2019, according to the QS rankings. And like I said, you can see on the screen there are lots of different events, lots going on, lots to do and explore, and we hope that that will continue to be the case as restrictions ease. If museums are your thing, that's one thing you'll never be short of. It is worth mentioning that SOAS is sort of the start of Museum Mile, which is a collection of, I think it's about 14 museums and galleries that run from SOAS and Bloomsbury all the way down to the Thames. And as Lisa mentioned, we're right round the corner from the British Museum, which is a wonderful, wonderful resource and a great day out if you do join us and have the opportunity to explore. In terms of accommodation then, if you do decide to come and join us in London and make London your home during your academic studies, SOAS has lots of different accommodation options available for students, from self-catered to catered, single rooms, double rooms, en-suites, lots of different ways that you can tailor your selection to your specific needs. And we work with a number of different private providers to make that possible. All of the halls of residence that we do have on offer are between a sort of 5 to 40-minute walk based on the residence that you're allocated. But again, all very manageable. We're close to lots of different transport links. We're very central, as Lisa mentioned, and so none of it should be problematic. And again, lots of our students, especially at master's level, do choose to rent privately and to live out. It's whatever works for you, whatever suits your needs, and what will really help you to enjoy your studies and to thrive as part of the community. The best place for information is our website. You can head along and navigate to accommodation. And if you have any questions at all, we have a very lovely accommodation manager, Jo, and she'll be very happy to answer any of your questions via email. And that's all linked on our dedicated webpage. All right, one last bit then, and then there'll be lots of time for questions at the end. So let's have a look at the different entry requirements and some of the application procedures that you need to be aware of. If we look at undergraduate then first, I know we have a few people from lots of different study levels joining the webinar today, but we do at all levels accept a wide range of international qualifications. And of course, if you cannot see your qualification listed here, then you're very welcome to follow up by email at the end, and we'll make sure to get that for you. As a rough guide though, for students studying A-level examinations, most of our courses demand between an AAA to an AAB at A level. If it's IB, we typically look for between 37, sometimes 35 points based on a specific program. And you can also see the Italian requirement listed there, in addition to the European baccalaureate requirements that we might expect. Again, please do get in touch. We have entry requirements and benchmarks for lots of different countries, and we'll be more than happy to follow up after the webinar presentation. In terms of postgraduate requirements then, for entry to our top programs, so 1-year master's programs, again, we've listed the top, the Italian requirement. At the top there, we would expect Italian applicants to have already achieved a bachelor's degree with an overall score of roughly 100 to 105 out of 110 to be considered for a postgraduate programme. Generally speaking, we look for all of our applicants to have the equivalent of a high UK lower second class honours degree, so a high 2-2. And again, we can provide lots of further information as to what that equivalent looks like for your country, and you're very welcome to follow up by email. That being said, at postgraduate level, we do take lots of different factors into account, As part of your application, you'll also be asked to submit a CV, and that allows us to assess any relevant professional experience that you might have acquired since your initial undergraduate study, and that could really equip you and mean that you're prepared to enter that next phase of postgraduate study. If you are considering pursuing a PhD, doctoral level study, then we typically expect you to have already obtained a good master's degree prior to application. And again, that should be in an area that is relevant to the programme that you are applying for. We're almost there, so just one quick wee slide then about how you apply. And again, we know there's people interested in lots of different courses and study levels on the webinar. So just to quickly cover that then, all undergraduate degrees, you need to apply via UCAS. That's the centralised admission service that all applicants to UK universities have to use. Again, you can find out more information on the UCAS website. And as a part of that application, you can apply for up to 5 choices each year. For our postgraduate admissions, we ask you to apply using the dedicated form on our website. As part of that, you can apply for up to 2 postgraduate courses each year. On the application, you'll be asked to rank your first choice and your second choice. And if for some reason we cannot offer you a place in your first choice, then you'll automatically be considered for that second choice programme that you listed. Lisa mentioned earlier that we have a growing portfolio of distance learning courses. Again, we're really excited about those. They operate purely at master's level. And again, they have their own dedicated online application form that's handled by the specific centre that oversees those programs. If you are interested, the best place to start is just by reading that initial landing page dedicated to our online distance learning programs. From there, you can pick up all the links, you can pick up all the program listings and find out much, much more. And the thing that makes our distance learning programs stand out is that they have several intakes throughout the year. So there's several opportunities for you to apply throughout the academic year. And finally then at doctoral level, again, please use the dedicated online form on our website. That's very, very similar to the one for our postgraduate top master's programs. Perfect, so that brings us to the end of our presentation. I'll pass back to Federica and then there's lots of time to answer your questions.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank Laura and Elizabeth. As you can see here, you find Elizabeth and Laura email address. Take a screenshot of this slide. We will also send you follow-up email so you'll be able to reach out in case you have any further question. But as mentioned, we're really now back to answer all of the questions that you were actually writing during the presentation. So starting from Marco, who's asking us, how long does it take to hear back from the university? And if for masters, if work experience is actually required?
Perhaps I can answer that one. So generally speaking, we would say that it can take around 2 to 4 weeks to hear back once you've submitted a completed application to SOAS. Again, that can depend at what point in the application cycle you apply. For example, we've had a last minute rush on postgraduate applications, and so students who are submitting the final postgraduate applications, it's currently taking a little bit longer, 4 to 6 weeks to receive an update on those results. But you're very welcome to contact us. We review all of our applications in detail. In terms of work experience, it's not essential. We wouldn't discourage students from applying if they've not built up targeted work experience. What we will look at and what we want to see is that you have the solid academic background and that you, through whatever you've done, that you have built up the transferable skills that you can then take forward and apply. I would say at master's level in particular, having targeted work experience becomes more important if your original undergraduate degree was unrelated to this programme that you're applying for. So that's one thing to bear in mind, but certainly we consider all applications as a whole and we'll look at all of the different elements that you submit as part of that.
Thank you, Laura. Of course, Elizabeth, if there is anything that you'd like to add, feel free to step in. Another question from Alexander. He's from Ecuador and studied English teachers undergraduate. So mainly the idea is to continue the studies in London, and generally they're asking if there is scholarships in place for students, and if so, how to apply for those financial aid.
Hi, I will take that one. Alexander, yes, we do have scholarships. We have more scholarships for master's programs than for undergraduate. It tends to be that funding is more readily available at master's level. What you will need to do is have a look on our scholarship pages on the website, and you'll find a whole long list of all the different SOAS scholarships. And we also have a link there for looking at external scholarships. So you will need to have a look through and see which ones are applicable for your situation. If you have a look at the moment, it's going to state that most of them are closed because those are for this academic year, but they will be opening up again for the next cycle as we get closer to the application period for next year. But looking now, you'll be able to get an idea of what kind of scholarships there are. And again, in terms of amount, they're all for different amounts of money. So you need to have a look and see. Most students tend to get a scholarship that's going to cover part of their fees, but they're still going to have to find some other money to cover the other part. So there are some scholarships which are fully funding for fees, but again, they are all quite competitive. So I would recommend applying for as many as possible. And, you know, it's just a matter of making applications and writing a good statement and putting your personal details in there, all your academic history. You'll have opportunity to fill out an application form and give all the information about yourself.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's actually also answered to another question, someone who was asking if you offer scholarship for outstanding students. So yes, the answer is have a look on the SOAS website. And as I said, we will be sharing with you some contact details. So in case you have any further questions, reach out to the team. As you can see, they are very much available to answer all the questions that you might have. They also asking us if there is a way to get in contact with current students. I don't know if you have some sort of a group or if there is a way to get in contact with current students or alumni.
There are different ways that you can do that. If you're very much at the stage of figuring it out, you know you might be interested in SOAS, but you haven't applied yet, you can go onto the website and click chat with a student. There'll be lots of different things that pop up and you can ask them your questions, kind of like in a Facebook chat, messenger chat type platform. So that's one way. If you want to get in touch with alumni, I think you might be able to do that by contacting the alumni network. Again, that might take a little time to get back. It's not too practical, but it can be a good way. What I would suggest is if you have a specific need that you want to get in touch with a student for, then please feel free to contact one of us. So Lisa, if you're an applicant from Europe, North America or South America, and oftentimes you'll be able to reach out to faculty or to different student ambassadors that we know and connect you that way. It's not always easy, but we will always try our best to make sure that you can get those student perspectives. And we also run lots of events, so do keep an eye out on our upcoming events. We sort of have quite a few sort of student live sessions where you can talk to current students. There's always lots of different ways that you can engage, and oftentimes at our open days or virtual events, there'll be a section of that day that enables you to hear student perspectives and to interact.
Perfect. This is great. Question they're asking if it's possible to stay in London after graduating or it is too competitive. So maybe I don't know if you'd like to share some story of some graduate, maybe international students that decided to stay.
Hi, it is possible to stay. We actually have a lot of students who decide to stay on after their studies and get some work experience in London. And London is a huge city, and there's so many opportunities and so many different things you can do there. So we have a lot of students who, even during their studies, they sometimes get a part-time job. And so they've already got some work and they decide to maybe keep going with that job, and while they're looking for other opportunities. We have students who decide to try to do internships in London after their studies. And again, Laura mentioned the career service, and they've got lists of opportunities for paid internships and jobs. So the career zone is the place to start, because they've got an updated list daily of all the opportunities. So again, it's a matter of looking and applying, and there definitely are lots of opportunities, and students tend to like to try to stay and work for a little bit after their studies. And of course, we've got the new graduate route visa, which allows you to stay in London and work when you finish. So that's a good thing too after Brexit. Unfortunately, we don't have the same freedom of movement anymore, but we do have the graduate route, which still offers European students an opportunity to stay, and international students.
This is actually great to hear, because there was another question, someone that says, what has really changed with Brexit? I am from Italy. Do I need a visa now? So I guess if we can maybe tell a little bit what has changed in a practical way, and maybe if there is, I don't know, an office that they can contact in case they have any sort of question for visa.
Yeah, I think quite a lot has actually changed. In the sense that now European students are actually international students rather than, part of our European community where we were free to come and go. So you do have to apply for a visa. It's not too difficult, and we have a lot of information on the website as well. About student visa applications, and we offer a lot of support. And myself and Laura and our other international recruitment colleagues are all here to help you with that too. So it basically, when you have an offer and you meet the requirements and you're holding an unconditional firm offer, you will then have the opportunity to apply for something called a CAS, which basically it's like an electronic document that allows you to apply for your visa. And so SOAS will issue you with this CAS, and you will go ahead and apply for the visa that way. There's lots of details in there, so I think it's better looking up the detailed information online, but just to let you know, it's not a terribly difficult process. It's just you will need to actually apply for a visa instead of just entering the country. But it's all possible, and we have our European students in the process of doing that at the moment, for this new coming academic year.
Good.
So anything specific with that, again, I think contact myself or Laura if you've got specific questions, and we can give you links to information, and we can give you some help on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And also thanks for being so available for the students. Since we have a lot of international students connected, I might wanted to ask you if we can talk a little bit about the benefits of studying abroad. So what could be a benefit of studying at SOAS? So we did mention about this incredible location, but maybe just in general, what could it mean for students to get out of the comfort zone and study in a different country?
Do you want to share something, Laura, or shall we both talk a little bit? We might have very different ideas.
Yeah, we'll both share. On you go, Lisa.
Okay. The benefits of studying. I think for anyone to, to go to university in a different country it's a big thing, and I think it can be really important because it gives you the opportunity to meet with so many different people. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have a very high percentage of international students, and the student body is so diverse. So it means you're going to be meeting people from all over the world who have very different ways of looking at the world, very different perspectives and experiences. And I think this is all enriching. It's going to open your mind and enrich your life, and you're going to make connections and friends for life. I'm still in touch with people I met as a student at SOAS, and I think it's eye-opening. And even in terms of the subjects that we're offering at SOAS, it's not your run-of-the-mill degrees. We're looking at things that are quite niche sometimes. We're looking at parts of the world and subjects that are a little more unusual that you don't hear about in everyday life. And this is all an incredible experience. As a past student at SOAS, just attending lectures was just so exciting because the information was so interesting. The academics were inspiring. I also mentioned our academics, they work in the field, they're not just academics, they actually practically involved in their academic areas, and they're involved in, we say changing the world, but this is their small part of trying to do something positive. And I think particularly at SOAS, the student body is very passionate. We're known at SOAS to be an incredibly passionate institution. Students feel very strongly about issues and they want to make a difference. And they're also very passionate about their subject areas. And part of that is the inspiration they receive from the academics. It's going to set you on a slightly different pathway in life and open doors and windows that you just wouldn't notice otherwise. So that's for me. I'll let Laura add something to that.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I can see we're running out of time, but I guess in terms of SOAS, like Lisa said, it's a really distinct learning experience. There's lots of opportunities in terms of that academic focus on our key regions that you wouldn't get elsewhere, particularly when you look at those non-Western languages, for example, and their range and extent that we offer. I think in terms of maybe why the UK, we're very lucky to have an extremely high quality education system that will give you a qualification that's respected worldwide and that will set you up in terms of a future career. And also a system that really puts the emphasis on a holistic student experience, not just the classroom and the academics, but on all these weird and wonderful student societies that you can get involved with, really getting invested with the people that you live alongside, getting to meet lots of people from everywhere, like Lisa said. And I think I had the reverse of that as part of my studies. I studied abroad in France and in Morocco. And I think being somewhere other than where you're used to is just really eye-opening. It really helps you in terms of independence and just in terms of general life skills, more than take academics out of it, just in terms of general life skills, having that multicultural awareness, being able to adapt and sort of thrive in different cultures, having those skills will really set you up for beyond your academic studies, wherever that is.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Laura, for sharing this with us. I just wanted to ask, I mean, you've been dealing with applications, probably deal with application every day. So I wanted to ask if there was maybe a tip that you feel like giving to the audience, something, I don't know, some common mistakes that you see in application, or maybe some advice on how to make an application stand out. I don't know if maybe Elizabeth wants to start and then Laura can add on something.
Applications, yeah, I worked in admissions at SOAS for quite some years, and so I've seen a lot of applications. And I mean, my personal advice would be, when you're making an application, you have an opportunity, as well as listing all of your qualifications and all of your work experience, etc. The main part of the application there is your opportunity to write a personal statement related to your course. And I think that's the key here, because we call it a personal statement, and it's important that it really is personal. You know, this is not something you need to go and look at a format and take from the internet and look at what your peers are doing. It's something that's very specific to you and your interests. And we want to know that you are interested in your subject. I mentioned passion earlier on, that's something, you know, that people have at SOAS. And I think if you're really interested and passionate about something, you know, we want to hear a little bit about that. What have you read? You know, where have you been? What have you done in relation to that? You know, we might want to see that you actually know a little bit about what we teach. You know, there's so much information online there about all our courses and modules, and, you know, is there something specific, you know, within politics that you're interested in, that you know that we offer, that you want to take further? You know, these are just little tips, but generally I think you can't go wrong if you're focusing on, you know, your reasons, your interests. Why do you want to do this? You know, what is it about the course, about the university that inspires you? I'll let you add a little bit, Laura.
Yes, please. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Do you know, I would probably say much the same. And my biggest piece of advice would be, show us you're passionate. Don't tell us you're passionate about your subject. We read that statement 3,000 times over an application cycle, if not more. As Lisa said, you can absolutely tell when a student has taken the time to reflect on their motivations, on their goals, and on why they're applying. And you can show us in a million different ways about why. Have you gone, as Lisa said, and read books? Have you gone and sought out opportunities? They don't have to be this amazing internship at this world-renowned company. They can be little steps that you've taken to engage with the ideas of the program you're applying for, different ways that you've sought out skills development within the sort of opportunities that you have in front of you. So really, as Lisa said, hone in on why you're applying and tell us the different experiences and skills that you've acquired, and make sure you make that connection as to how that's going to equip you to be successful in your chosen course.
Great. So thank you so much for sharing your advice. I'd really like to thank our speaker for the presentation, and I'd like to thank all of you for staying connected. As mentioned, we will be sending you an email after this event, so you can actually rewatch the webinar in case you miss some element, or you can get in contact with the speakers in case you have any further questions. Just before closing, I wanted to ask Laura and Elizabeth if there was anything that they wanted to add. I mean, it's very hard to try to summarize a university in an hour webinar. You did a great job, but I wanted to ask, maybe this time starting from Laura, if there was anything else that you wanted to add to what has already been said.
Gosh, I don't think so. You know, I think my biggest piece of advice would be, do your research. Don't be afraid to reach out. Do what you can to get a flavour of SOAS, be that going online and watching a virtual tour or trying to connect with a student, whatever it will be, that really helps you to understand that unique and colourful and lively experience that we have. But ultimately, go wherever is the best fit for you, because that's where you'll be successful.
Thank you, Laura. Elizabeth, it's very hard to add anything to what has been said, but anything, one final piece of advice or anything.
Yeah, I think, like Laura is saying, I think research is really important, and I know it's more difficult now because of COVID, but hopefully moving forward, you'll have opportunity to actually visit campuses. You know, when you can read about somewhere and hear about somewhere, but actually going there and experiencing it is quite a different thing. And, you know, I think things like open days are just amazing. You know, when we've had open days on campus and students come, and it's just coming to the campus, you know, they'll speak to me and say, you know, I just feel it right here. You know, you have to find what's right for you. We are very small in comparison to some universities, so it really depends what you're looking for. You know, students are looking for different things, and it's important, like Laura said, to go where it feels right for you, where things fit properly. So I think getting as much information, and if you can't visit in person, join the virtual open days, the virtual tours, try to speak to students, you know, do as much as you possibly can to get the information that you need so that you can make a final decision. And I think ultimately for most students, it's, you know, it's about the course as well. You know, it's about finding the course that offers what they want. You know, especially postgraduate is different too, because it's very specific. You know, here's your opportunity to hone in on something, you know, in a deeper way, and you have to find the right course and the right place to do that. You know, it's your academic career ahead of you, whereas undergraduate studies, it's slightly different. You have 3 or 4 years, it's a little bit broader, and it's a different experience. So I mean, that would be my recommendation. Like Laura said, do your research, search, try to find your place.
Thank you so much. Really, again, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Elizabeth, for staying with us, and all of you for staying connecting. So we will be sending you an email over the next few days. So reach out, and as Laura said, don't be afraid to ask questions. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon at the next live SOAS webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
bye.
you.